What's up? I'm Matt, this is Recover and Ready, and it's time to talk Versus System 2 PCG. Today, we're back with another episode of Community Cuts, featuring Valkyrie combo by none other than Jon Phillips, the recent winner of the Texas Regional. But with a twist, I asked Jon what this deck might look like in a format with no limits or restrictions, such as Multiverse, and that is precisely what you're gonna get today. But before we get started, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It really helps spread the word about Versus System 2 PCG. So let's talk Valkyrie combo. First, starting off with a quick review of Jon's performance at the Duality Regional in Texas, and then moving on to his Multiverse suggested list. As you can see, the list Jon used to take down the Dallas Regional featured Flash Thompson as the main character, leveraging his ability to draw 2 cards a turn to goldfish for key combo pieces such as Frank Drake, the Inventor, Valkyrie, the deck drawing Menace Prowler, and more. Using heals to go long and being careful to tech against DP and Yellow Hate, his Duality list played out just right in this format, which required players to play all non-locations as 2-ofs. What I love here is that Jon managed to put together a list that virtually dodges the format restrictions, at least in part because it's naturally suited to playing a lot of 2-ofs, particularly in the 1-drop slot, which makes up a huge portion of his deck, as you can see here, and which will become even more apparent as we move on to Jon's suggested Valkyrie combo list in a format without restrictions, Multiverse. Congrats again, and a big shout out to Jon for helping make this combo more accessible to players who want to try it out in a broader format. With that, I'm excited to present Valkyrie combo in Multiverse. Let's get to the list. Just to dot all our I's and cross our T's, I guess we should start off by talking about the main character that Jon chose here, Flash Thompson. Now let's just say that Flash Thompson level 1 is the real main character here. If you end up trying to move to using Agent Venom, the level 2, quite often, honestly, it's probably because you're in big trouble. What we really care about here is Flash Thompson being able to draw us 2 cards a turn during his build phase by flipping a yellow. That will help dig us as deep and as fast as we can to our Valkyrie combo. The other thing that we really care about with Flash Thompson is that he's dual affiliated. He's both a member of the Symbiote and Spider Friends team. This allows him to play the team locations from both of these teams, making him more consistent in his ability to dig deeper and deeper and deeper every turn by using his yellows. So let's move on to the main event, the combo itself. The centerpiece of this combo is using Valkyrie plus the machine to do some broken stuff. Let's walk through how it works. To get access to the machine, we're playing Frank Drake, who can invent it during the build phase by using a yellow location. First and foremost, we want to understand that our goal in using the machine is to make sure all our 1-drop supporting characters are free. We're going to do this by choosing the options to reduce character cost by 1 when we play the machine. In and of itself, this is nothing special, but where it gets pretty degenerate is when we combine it with Valkyrie's ability to recruit supporting characters from our KO pile for free. What this enables us to do is create loops of 1-drop supporting characters that can start to do some crazy things to basically shut our opponent out of the game. So let's start with a basic example on how to create infinite loops with your 1-drops using Valkyrie and the machine who are in play. So, you use Valkyrie's ability, you have the machine in play, now you can recruit from your KO pile this turn. So let's say you have a couple of Prowlers, we're going to create a basic infinite loop. Draw your whole deck. Play a Prowler, draw a card. Play a second Prowler from your hand, first one goes to the KO pile, you draw a card from the second one that came in, you look at your KO pile, Valkyrie lets you recruit the one that's there, you recruit it, it KOs the one that's in play while you draw another card, you go back to your KO pile, now you have that one in there again, you recruit it, it comes into play, it KOs the one that's in play, you draw a card when it comes in, and you can basically cycle this as many times as you want to draw your entire deck. And like I hinted at before, as long as you have 2 copies of a particular 1-drop in your hand, or you have like 1 in hand and 1 in the KO pile when you activate Valkyrie with the machine out, at this point you can create infinite loops. So for example, with Dinosaur, you'll loop her infinite amount of times to make 1,000,000 1/1 counters on all of your dudes, so they can be so big your opponent will never be able to get through unless they can daze them or something. With Iceman, you can loop him as many times as you want to freeze your opponent's entire board. With Wasp, loop her as many times as you want to put 1,000,000 negative counters on all of your opponent's dudes. With Arnim Zola, loop him as many times as you want to make your opponent discard their entire hand. And like I said with Prowler, loop him as many times as you want until you draw your entire deck. Fortunately, there's a bit of redundancy built into the deck so that you don't actually need to have a second copy of the same supporting character that you are trying to loop, as long as you have Cloak out on the board in addition to Valkyrie and Machine. So let's say you have Valkyrie in play, you have Machine in play, and you have Cloak in play, and you have a single 1-drop, you don't have multiples of it. Well, that's okay, because Cloak's ability, Dark Force Channeling, says when another character appears on a side, put negative counters on it equal to its cost. So let's say that you play a 1-drop like Dinosaur, who has only 1 defense. Well, when Dinosaur gets recruited, Cloak is going to trigger, and Cloak is going to put a negative counter on Dinosaur, which would KO her. But Dinosaur also has the appear ability of put a +1/+1 counter on another character on your side. So what's going to happen? You're going to put a 1/1 counter on a character on your side from Dinosaur. Cloak is going to put that negative counter on Dinosaur and KO Dinosaur. Now that Dinosaur's in your KO pile, you can recruit Dinosaur for free because of Valkyrie and the Machine. Dinosaur's going to come back in, going to get a negative counter from Cloak, which would KO her, but first you're going to use her ability to put another +1/1 counter on something else, and then she's going to die again, go to the KO pile, and you can do it again, and again, and again, as many times as you want. And like I said before, this one works with all your 1-drops except for Wasp, because Wasp has 2 defense, which means that Cloak's single negative counter will not be able to KO her upon appear. So how do we win? Well, we're going to use the Nightmare Wasp combo. Nightmare's ability, Waking Nightmare, reads, enemy characters can have and gain negative 1/1 counters while stunned. So what you're going to do is you're going to loop Wasp a million times to put a million negative counters on your opponent's entire board, including their main character. Then on their next turn, when they attempt to recover, their main character is going to instantly get stunned along with the rest of their characters, because they're going to have a million negative counters still sitting on them due to Nightmare's ability. And now you're off to the races, and they have to figure out what to do about Nightmare, because otherwise their main character is going to get stunned upon recovering every single turn until they're dead. Sequencing is going to become really important in this deck, because ultimately, for example, if you play something like Cloak before Nightmare, Nightmare's just going to get KO'd when he comes into play. So ideally what you want to be able to do is loop using the first method and draw your whole deck off of Prowler in order to then sequence a play of Nightmare plus Wasp to set up a kill for your opponent, and use Cloak on the back end in order to prevent your opponent from gaining any real ability to come back. At this point, if they can't remove Nightmare, the only way that they can come back is if they can race you by replaying supporting characters that they already have on board in order to get rid of the ones that have a million negative counters on them. But like I said, if you have Cloak out, Cloak puts the stop on this, because let's say they replay a supporting character, get rid of the one with a million negatives. Well, guess what? The supporting character that just came into play is going to get a bunch of negatives from Cloak upon appearing, so they're not really going to be able to make any headway here. The most likely outcome is your opponent just feels demoralized and scoops. Maybe tells you good game if you're lucky. Since some semblance of this win condition scenario is paramount to set up, you'll just want to make sure that you figure out how to use your tools to get there. For example, a lot of your 1-drops that you can loop can be powerful tools in order to establish that sort of inevitability. For example, if you were able to make all your guys infinitely tall with Dinosaur, they might have a hard time getting through while you set up the rest of this stuff, or making them discard their entire hand with Zola, or freezing down their whole board with Iceman. These sort of things sequenced in the proper scenario can help lead you to the ability to put your win condition up in a way that they cannot get through. Ultimately, it's best as much as possible to avoid a scenario where you're just sticking Valkyrie onto the field, crossing your fingers and hoping that you can untap with her the next turn without them lethaling her out of the way or something like that. If there's a way to get more things going at once and protect yourself, the better. Alright, let's talk about survival. Since this combo has a lot of moving pieces, and since you don't have a lot of ways to defend yourself in the meantime, you either want to get to it faster or you want to die slower. Mantis helps you get there faster by ramping you and getting you to your Valkyrie before turn 6. Queens, on the other hand, since you're going to be playing a Spider-Friend's main character, is going to let you heal, essentially extending the amount of turns that you have to get this combo online. And of course, cards that are in the combo already, such as Iceman and Wasp, are going to also be good road bumps along the way to slow your opponent down. Since yellows are absolutely essential to our combo due to Valkyrie and Frank Drake both using them, we are going to need a way to deal with the most common yellow hate in the game, Jessica Jones. For this, we'll have the Nullifier and Cosmo in our pocket in order to shut her off at the moment we're ready to combo off. And the other elephant in the room is Dark Phoenix. What happens if she removes keywords and superpowers from the game and therefore stops us from being able to combo off? Well, for these situations, we have Sentinel plus Mutant Control Act, so that when they recruit their Dark Phoenix, we can respond by playing Mutant Control Act and stopping her recruit ability and therefore keep our combo safe. Now that we've gotten through most of the list, let's check out the locations that we need to activate our abilities. We're playing a playset of all these: the Daily Bugle, Clintar, the Aurora, which is going to be our Academy or Yellow, and Sanctum Sanctorum. The first 3 of these are going to be for Flash Thompson so that he can draw 2 cards a turn reliably, and the Aurora for our Yellow and Sanctum Sanctorum are going to work for Frank, Drake, and Valkyrie to activate their abilities. In addition to these other locations mentioned, we are also playing a playset of Fortress. This, along with our Clintars and our Daily Bugles, will allow us to use Queens to heal our main character. And of course, these green sources also will activate Agent Venom at level 2 if we're ever so desperate that we need to do so. So what sets are we going to need to build Jon Phillips' version of No Restrictions Valkyrie combo? Well, you're going to need Lethal Protector, Monsters Unleashed, Into the Darkness, New Defenders, Marvel Battles, A-Force, Futures Past, Shield vs. Hydra, Spider Friends, Utopia Battles, Legacy, and Civil War. And if you're a peasant, you can play Academy, but if you have style like Jon Phillips, you're going to want the Alien Battles for your yellow location. As always, tune the deck according to your preferences and your collection. If you see something you like, here, include it. If you want to make some changes, go for it. We'd love to see what your list might look like. If you haven't done so yet, check out the deck list in the description, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. That really helps out the channel and helps spread the news of Versus System 2 PCG. And lastly, a big shout out to Jon Phillips. Thanks again for helping us with this list, and congratulations on your win. This has been Recover and Ready. Hope you guys have fun playing some Versus.